Okay, great. So it's 6 o'clock. Let's get started.
Sure.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our session of Arts Masters. As you are aware, we are continuously trying to simplify the complex concepts in GST. And today we have picked up one such concept which was recently introduced, that is the QRMP scheme and the related matters which were announced recently in various notifications. So, to help you all understand this concept and to answer your questions, we have with us CA Shafali. Hi, Shafali. Welcome to
Hey.
Masters India. It's a pleasure to have you here. CA Shafali is a qualified chartered accountant, and interestingly, she's a YouTuber who keeps sharing her GST knowledge and is a partner at AAP and Co. She is famous for a unique style of delivery. I've also seen her videos and learned from her, about how we can simplify the complex topics and break it down to so simple. So there is one particular line which reminds me of her complex provisions in simple language. That's what Shafali keeps doing, I can say. So welcome to our session, Shafali.
Thanks.
Yes. So let's get started. Let's not,
Sure.
let's get started. So this QRMP scheme, when it came, there was too much of hustle bustle about what the scheme is, whom is the scheme applicable to, and what are the implications of it. So if you can just throw some light on what the scheme is about.
Okay. So first of all, we need to understand what is QRMP scheme. Earlier, we were filing the monthly return. The first of all, when the return system started, there was a monthly return. Then they shifted the GSTR 1 from monthly to quarterly return. But GSTR 3B was still a monthly return. So there was a demand from the side of the taxpayers that there should be some relaxation in the filing of return. So GSTR 3B, now they considering that 1 and 3B both can be filed quarterly, but we need to understand some important aspects related to this particular scheme. The first thing is, in spite of the fact that the return filing is quarterly, even the GSTR 3B, the payment of tax is monthly. So if I divide the entire scheme of return filing after the QRMP scheme, it means there are two major options. The first of all, you can file the returns monthly or you can file the returns quarterly. For the monthly option, you will have to file both of the returns, that is GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B monthly. Then tax payment will also be monthly. For the QRMP scheme, that is the quarterly return filing scheme, the GSTR 3B and GSTR 1 both will be quarterly, but I mean, you can keep feeding the information to the system throughout the month, throughout the period, throughout the quarter. So, because some of the people will say that, okay, at the end of the quarter, there will be a lot of work to do or there will be a lot of reconciliation. So what the department is saying, basically there were two problems. So what department is saying that you can keep feeding the data, first thing, so you can still, upload your invoices using the IFF technology, IFF facility basically. And then the payment of tax will be monthly only because they cannot, hold it to the quarter. So specifically when it is for the small taxpayers, so if your turnover was up to 5 crore rupees in the previous financial year, only then you can opt for this particular scheme. If you have shifted from the composition levy to normal levy, because see, now there will be a comparison in composition levy and normal levy. Why? Because earlier the composition levy was given to the small taxpayers whose turnover was up to 2 crores. Like earlier it was 1 crore, then it was extended to 1.5 and 2, right? So the only difference was that there was less of the compliance in composition levy, first thing. Second thing is, in the composition levy, you cannot claim input tax credit and you are liable to make payment at the lower rate, that is about 0.5% or 1% or 5% in case of restaurants, etc. So now we have the comparison between these two schemes, that whether I should go a QRMP in the normal levy or I should choose the composition. So many people will try to shift from the composition levy to QRMP scheme also. So for those people also, it can be more beneficial. The reason is, in composition levy, you cannot take the input tax credit. So if you are working on the thin margin, so it may not be that much beneficial for you. Then return filing. Earlier in composition levy, return filing is quarterly. So you need to make the payment of tax and file the return in per quarter. Then there is an annual return, and then there is a GSTR4. There is one another return. So now the QRMP scheme, like it is almost equivalent in compliances to the composition levy, and it will be better in terms of benefit, because the composition dealer cannot pass on the credit to the buyers also. So we need to make a comparison between the two, like which scheme I should select. If most of your buyers are unregistered, then you can still go to composition levy because they will not be in need of input tax credit. But if your buyers are small but still they are businesses, then it is better to opt for the QRMP scheme, because in that case they will not like to buy from a composition dealer. So that is the QRMP scheme, quarterly filing, but still payment of tax will be monthly only, and you will have to keep feeding the data, because there was another problem when the quarterly GSTR1 was there and Rule 36(4) was introduced, and it was held that you will be eligible for the input tax credit only if okay, some people are requesting to speak in Hindi. So Sunamni, can you clarify whether what language I should keep for the deliberation?
We can have an English, whichever it is. I mean, if you can, however, put it forward. I mean, if there are majority,
I will try to mix it. I will try to mix it. I will try to make it, equally useful for the Hindi and English, both of them. So QRMP scheme मतलब आपको क्वार्टरली रिटर्न फाइल करनी है, लेकिन दो चीजें ध्यान रखनी है. द टैक्स पेमेंट विल बी मंथली ओनली, फर्स्ट थिंग. सेकंड थिंग, आपको GSTR1 में डेटा आप ड्यूरिंग द क्वार्टर भी फीड करते रहेंगे. ऐसा नहीं है कि एंड में आपको सारा डेटा फीड करना है, बीच में भी कर सकते हैं, बट दिस इज ऑप्शनल. ये आपके लिए ऑप्शनल है, राइट? मतलब IFF फैसिलिटी को यूज करना आपकी अपनी चॉइस है, वो आपके ऊपर मैंडेटेड नहीं है, बट स्टिल you will have to use it. Why? Because you need to pass on the credit. तो मैं Rule 36(4) आपके साथ डिस्कस कर रही थी. When Rule 36(4) was introduced, so it was held that you will be eligible for the input tax credit only if it is reflecting in GSTR 2A or 2B. I mean, if it is uploaded by the supplier. So there was a lot of issues with the quarterly return filers, quarterly GSTR1 filers, because their invoices were not reflecting in the GSTR 2A or 2B of the buyers, so they were not being able to take the input tax credit in that particular case. So उन्होंने अभी क्या किया, क्योंकि हम लोगों को Rule 36(4) की वजह से प्रॉब्लम आ रही थी, इनवॉइसेस जो है वो जो स्मॉल टैक्स पेयर्स हैं उनके अपलोड नहीं करना होता था उनको, तो उनके दिखते नहीं थे. तो उस वजह से काफी सारे लोग बाय नहीं करना चाहते थे, स्पेशली बड़ी कंपनियां नहीं बाय करना चाहती थी वेंडर से, स्मॉल वेंडर से. उनको लगता था कि भाई ITC मेरा होल्ड पे रहेगा. तो उन्होंने इसी के लिए IFF को अब इंट्रोड्यूस किया है. तो IFF से आप क्या कर सकते हैं, अपने जो इनवॉइसेस हैं उसको ड्यूरिंग द पीरियड भी अपलोड कर सकते हैं. तो उससे क्या होगा, वो 2A के अंदर और 2B के अंदर रिफ्लेक्ट हो जाएगा, तो वो लोग भी इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट उसका एलिजिबल हो जाएंगे, वो भी उसको क्लेम कर पाएंगे. तो ये अनदर बेनिफिट होगा इस स्कीम का. So I think that was enough to answer the first question. So next question.
To answer the first question, आपने बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसी बताई जिसके ऊपर मुझे और questions आ गए अब. So first thing is about the IFF, the invoice furnishing facility, if I'm right.
जी.
So उसके ऊपर अगर आप कुछ थोड़ा और बता सकते हैं तो.
Okay. So IFF का मतलब ये है कि आप इनवॉइसेस को फर्निश करेंगे, मतलब आप इनवॉइस को एंटर करेंगे. 50 लाख से ज्यादा की आप नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि अब ये 50 लाख की लिमिट क्यों आई, इसका मैं सबसे, और ये पूरा जो चल रहा है आजकल इतना, हमें कई बार लगता है कि लाइक GST बहुत हार्डशिप हो गई, उस सब के पीछे देयर इज अ बैकग्राउंड, और वो बैकग्राउंड है जो आप लोगों को नहीं पता, मुझे पहुंचता है नहीं पहुंचता, बट हमारे व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप्स में वो चीजें रोज घूमती है कि कभी 100 करोड़ रुपए का ITC का घोटाला है, कहीं 46 करोड़ रुपीस का है, कहीं 200 करोड़ का है, कहीं 500 करोड़ का है. और जो modus operandi है, so modus operandi for most of these scams related to input tax credit is the people get registration, then they file their GSTR1, so it is reflected in GSTR 2A and 2B, they pass on the credit, and after that they just run away. तो क्या करते हैं लोग, GSTR1 फाइल कर देते हैं, इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट रिफ्लेक्ट हो जाता है, बायर कहेगा कि आपने कहा 2A में दिखना चाहिए, 36(4) के हिसाब से तो दिख तो रहा है मेरे 2A के अंदर, लेकिन उसके बाद दे डोंट फाइल GSTR 3B. GSTR 3B में पेमेंट ही नहीं करते हैं टैक्स को, भाग जाते हैं. तो इसीलिए फिर इतने सारे प्रोविजंस बना रखे हैं, मतलब एक्चुअली उनको लगता है कि हर तरफ से पकड़ लें. तो अब क्या है, इफ यू विल सी द इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट, अब उसके अंदर कितनी रेस्ट्रिक्शंस हो गई हैं, वो बहुत ही अमेजिंग लगता है मेरे को. जब GST इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया था तो सबसे बड़ी टैगलाइन थी देयर विल बी अ सीमलेस क्रेडिट, और कई बार लोग इसको मजाक में आज के लिए भी बोलते हैं कि इट सीमलेस क्रेडिट, कम से कम वो क्रेडिट हो रहा है, सीमलेस की जगह इट सीम्स लेस, वो होने लग गया आजकल. So first of all, आपके input tax credit के लिए section 16 condition should be fulfilled, then section 17 fulfilled, 18 fulfilled, then 36(4) should be fulfilled, then 86A वहां पे तब भी ब्लॉक हो सकता है, इतना कुछ होने के बाद भी. स्टिल मतलब आपके जो ऑफिसर है उन्होंने विजिट किया उसकी शॉप पे और वो विजिट पे उस समय पे नहीं मिला, तो they will say कि he is non-existent and they will block your input tax credit. So that, I mean that is the hardship related to the input tax credit. But उसको फिर भी थोड़ा सा फ्लो उसका ठीक करने के लिए उन्होंने क्या कर दिया है, जो मुझे लग रहा है QRMP के साथ साथ, जैसे कि आप लोग जानते हैं उन्होंने ये भी बोला है कि देयर शुड बी अ पैरिटी बिटवीन द डेटा यू हैव एंटर्ड इन GSTR 1 एंड GSTR 3B. तो आप ऐसा नहीं कर सकते कि GSTR 1 तो आपने 1 करोड़ रुपए की फाइल की और GSTR 3B आपने नील की फाइल कर दी. सो यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड, ये अगर आप कर रहे हो तो इसका मतलब आप तो फ्रॉडस्टर हो ही ना. आप फ्रॉड करने के लिए तो ऐसे करोगे कि GSTR 1 में 1 करोड़ दिखा रहे हो, वहां पे आपका एक भी नहीं, कुछ भी नहीं है. सो उसी तरह की चीजों को कंट्रोल करने के लिए अब उन्होंने जो QRMP स्कीम है इसको भी लॉन्च किया स्मॉल टैक्स पेयर्स के साथ में, लेकिन साथ में उन्होंने ये भी लिंक अप कर दिया कि जो आप पास ऑन कर सकते हैं क्रेडिट GSTR 1 फाइल करके, दैट विल बी रेस्ट्रिक्टेड, दैट विल बी लिमिटेड. सो 50 लाख रुपीज की इसलिए जो इनवॉइस फर्निशिंग फैसिलिटी है उसमें 50 लाख की लिमिट इसीलिए रखी है कि कहीं ऐसा ना हो कि आप पता चला आपने भी 1 करोड़ 2 करोड़ के इनवॉइसेस फर्निश किए और उसके बाद रिटर्न आप भी नहीं फाइल कर रहे. दे डोंट वांट इट टू हैपन. सो आप 50 लाख तक की इनवॉइसेस अपलोड कर सकते हैं. अब इसमें सेकंड क्वेश्चन राइज होता है कि जो लॉ है 36(4) वो ये कहता है कि भाई आपने अपलोड कर दिया हो सेक्शन 37 के हिसाब से, सप्लायर ने जो उसको जो भी इसका मतलब कंप्लायंस है वो कंप्लीट कर दिया हो, तो क्या ये कंप्लायंस कंप्लीट हो गया? तो क्योंकि रूल्स के अंदर चेंज करके इसको लाया गया है IFF फैसिलिटी को, तो यानी कि अब जो अपलोड करना था वो क्या करना था, IFF फैसिलिटी के थ्रू भी अपलोड किया तो माना जाएगा कि जो सप्लायर का कंप्लायंस है वो उसने कंप्लीट कर दिया. तो लेट्स सपोज आपके 1 मंथ के अंदर 10 लाख रुपीस के इनवॉइसेस थे. अच्छा, इनवॉइसेस में अपलोड कौन से करूंगी? इट्स क्वाइट लॉजिकल. अब जो मेरा B2C सेलर है, B2C वाला बायर है, उसको तो मुझे ट्रेड पास ऑन करने की टेंशन ही नहीं है. तो यानी कि मुझे इनवॉइस अपलोड कौन से करने हैं? जो मेरे B2B वाले हैं, ताकि जो मेरे B2B वाले बायर्स हैं उनको क्रेडिट जो है वो टाइम पे रिफ्लेक्ट हो सके. तो आप कौन से इनवॉइसेस इसमें अपलोड करोगे? जो मेरे B2B इनवॉइसेस हैं उनको आप अपलोड करेंगे ताकि मेरे बायर्स अपना इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट देख सके टाइम पे. तो 50 लाख रुपीज तक के आप B2B इनवॉइसेस जो है उनको IFF यूज करके अपलोड कर सकते हैं. फंक्शनलिटी जो है ऑलरेडी पोर्टल पे आ चुकी है, आप उसको यूज करके. और मैं आपको अगर एक छोटी सी चेकलिस्ट बताऊं कि भी आपको रिटर्न फाइल करनी है तो आप ना एक मतलब एक टू डू लिस्ट, जैसे आप लोग टैली से इनवॉइस रेज करते हैं स्मॉल टैक्स पेयर्स के साथ ये होता है, जैसे किसी की शॉप है आपने या कोई होलसेलर है आप उनके पास जाते हैं तो जनरली जो प्रैक्टिस फॉलो करते हैं उनका मैंने देखा है कि वो तभी की तभी टैली से एक आपको इनवॉइस जनरेट करके देते हैं. जैसे आपने उसको टैली में या किसी भी सॉफ्टवेयर के अंदर जो भी आप यूज करें, मार्ग यूज करें, जो भी इंडिया में यूज होते हैं, उसके अंदर आपने जैसे इनवॉइस रेज किया, हाथ किया, तो उस इनवॉइस को आप उठा के GST पोर्टल पे भी अपलोड कर दो IFF यूज करके. अच्छा, प्रॉब्लम कहाँ पे आती है? मैं प्रॉब्लम भी आपको बता रही, मतलब ये तो सिंपल है, ये सबसे सिंपलेस्ट फॉर्म है. प्रॉब्लम यहाँ पे आती है कि आपने इनवॉइस रेज कर दिया, माल चला गया, माल जाने के बाद में बंदे ने बोला कि यार आपने तो बोला था इस क्वालिटी का हुआ, ये तो खराब है, मैं तो इसके लिए आपको 1 लाख रुपीज नहीं दूंगा, मैं तो आपको इसके लिए 20,000 रुपीज 20,000 कट करके मान लीजिए 80,000 रुपीज दूंगा. अब यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम होती है कि सप्लायर को ये नहीं समझ में आता कि अब मैंने तो IFF करके उसको दे दिया है ना, इनवॉइस हाथ किया, अपलोड भी कर दिया. मतलब देखो, देयर आर 2 थिंग्स. फर्स्ट थिंग इज थ्योरी, कंसेप्ट, जिसे हम लोग बोलते हैं एक जो सिद्धांतों की दुनिया है. तो सेकंड थिंग इज प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ. प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ में ऐसा होता नहीं है. इवन सर्विसेज के केस में भी आप बहुत बार देखोगे कि इनवॉइस रेज हो जाता है, रेज होने के बाद पता चला कि 1 महीने बाद 2 महीने बाद बायर को जो आप पेमेंट के लिए बार बार फॉलो अप करते हैं तो वो कहते हैं कि नहीं 1 लाख नहीं, आप उसको 20,000 लेस कर लीजिए. अब प्रॉब्लम ये है कि अगर उसको रेज करते हैं हम लोग हमेशा अपलोड कर देंगे तो जब वो रिड्यूस होगा तब उसका क्या ट्रीटमेंट करें? उसके लिए आप लोग क्रेडिट नोट इशू कर सकते हैं. बट अब अगर GST पोर्टल ये कर देगा कि आपके GST 1 और 3B के मिसमैच के लिए आपको नोटिस भेजने लगेगा, तो प्रॉब्लम ये है कि मुझे पेमेंट तो आया नहीं, मैंने इनवॉइस रेज कर दिया 1 लाख रुपए का और फिर बाद में पेमेंट आया भी मुझे 80,000 रुपीज का ही, तो मुझे भी प्रॉब्लम होगी कि वो क्रेडिट नोट मेरे को या तो बाद में एंटर करके तब उसका रिवर्सल लेना पड़ेगा. बट एट द एंड ऑफ द मंथ मेरे ऊपर तो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आ गई ना पूरा टैक्स पेमेंट करने की. मैं नहीं अगर टैक्स पेमेंट कर रही हूँ तो आप बोलोगे कि अच्छा तुम्हारे दोनों के बीच में गैप है. तो जैसे कि आप जानते हैं रूल 20 और रूल 21A, रूल 21 एंड 21A के अंदर चेंज लाया गया है. अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट पर्टिकुलर चेंज आप दोनों में अगर डिफरेंस है आपकी GST 1 की लायबिलिटी में और 3B की लायबिलिटी में, तो जो ऑफिसर है वो आपके रजिस्ट्रेशन को सस्पेंड कर सकता है. और सस्पेंड होने से प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि उस पीरियड में आप सप्लाई नहीं कर सकते. तो अब किसी का अगर रनिंग बिजनेस है, मान लीजिए मेरी शॉप है, मेरी प्लाईवुड की शॉप है, तो मैं तो डेली बैठ के इनवॉइसेस काट रही हूँ, मैं तो सिस्टम के सामने बैठी भी नहीं, मुझे पता भी नहीं कि आपने मेरा सस्पेंड कर दिया है, मैं तो डेली इनवॉइसेस रेज करती जा रही हूँ. सो देयर विल बी अ गैप बिटवीन द पोर्टल, जो पोर्टल का एक थॉट प्रोसेस है उसमें, और जो प्रैक्टिकली जिस तरीके से काम करते हैं स्मॉल बिजनेसेस उसमें. सो IFA फैसिलिटी यही है कि आप फिलहाल ये है कि आप अपना जो क्रेडिट है उसको पास ऑन कर सकते हो ड्यूरिंग द क्वार्टर भी. आपको क्वार्टर के एंड तक के लिए उसको वेट करने की जरूरत नहीं है. और अच्छी बात ये भी होगी कि इसकी वजह से आपके जो क्लाइंट्स हैं, यू विल नॉट बी लूजिंग एनी क्लाइंट्स, बिकॉज दे विल बी एबल टू सी द input tax credit through 2A or 2B instantly as soon as you will upload the invoices. और जब आप अपनी रिटर्न फाइल करेंगे क्वार्टर के एंड पे, तो आपने जो इनवॉइसेस ऑलरेडी फाइल कर दिए हैं IFA फैसिलिटी यूज करके, उन्हें आपको दोबारा करने की जरूरत नहीं है. वो ऑलरेडी वहां से डेटा अपने आप पुट किया जाएगा. आपके जो बैलेंस इनवॉइसेस बचेंगे अपनी लास्ट मंथ ऑफ द क्वार्टर के, सिर्फ वो आपको अपलोड करने हैं लास्ट वाले क्वार्टर में, और उसके बाद आपको अपनी रिटर्न फाइल कर देनी है.
So the process बहुत सिंप्लीफाई हो चुका है यहाँ. If you go to see in one way. So जब आप बोल रहे थे restrictions के बारे में, when you ITC restrictions, so in that I believe there is another new rule which is added after 86A, that's the 86B. So what is your take on it?
See, the first thing we need to understand that only 20 to 25,000 businesses are going to be affected by Rule 86B. So for most of the specifically for most of the small taxpayers, 86B will be completely irrelevant. Why I'm saying that? There are some exemptions from this rule. So first thing we need to understand, if you are paying at least 1% of output tax liability via cash ledger, it means you are out from 86B. So I believe that most of the businesses, at least 85% of the businesses, are paying more than 1% of their output tax liability through cash. तो 86B सिर्फ तभी एप्लीकेबल होगा जब आप 8% भी अपनी आउटपुट टैक्स लायबिलिटी का कैश से नहीं पे कर रहे हैं, बट वहां पे आप पे करते हैं. 85% बिजनेस उतना पे करता है. देन सेकंड इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज, it is only applicable if your turnover in a particular month. So it is not annual basis, it's not on annual basis, it's about month to month basis. So for a particular month, if your turnover you are entering in your return is more than rupees 50 lakh, right? Out of this 50 lakh, we need to remove the exempted supplies and export supplies. So I can say that for any exporter, 86B is not applicable. First thing, right? Because it is not applicable on zero rated supply. So for any person who is making any supply to the SCZ developer or SCZ unit, 86B is again not applicable. Third thing is, if you're making any kind of exempted supply, then again 86B is not applicable. So now let us say that my other turnover, so my turnover other than the export turnover and the exempted turnover is actually more than 50 lakh rupees for a particular month. Now I'm assuming that if your turnover for a particular month is more than 50 lakh rupees, so your annual turnover will be around 6 crore rupees, right? It will be around 6 crore. So as per the GST also, a person having a turnover of around 6 crore rupees is not a small taxpayer. According to them, you cross that limit of 5 crore rupees, first thing. Second thing is, now if you are not making payment of your output tax liability through cash ledger, so only 1% of it. So I'm assuming, see, if your turnover, if you have a margin of say 10% rupees, of 10%, because generally any business, at least they work at a margin of 10%, right? I mean, 10% is very small number. I will say that very few industry will be there who will be having the margin of less than 10%. Or sometimes it may be like 5% or maybe 3 or 4%, because I understand some industries even work at very thin margin. Right. So even in that case, the output tax you will be paying through a cash ledger will be more than 1%. And even if it is less than 1%, see, 1% is very small amount. So for 1 lakh rupees, it will be like 1,000 rupees. So if you are making payment of say 10 lakh rupees, it will be like 10,000 rupees. Right. It's very small amount basically. So would I feel that 86B is like overrated in the public? I mean, because most of the people who are making a hue and cry for this particular rule, basically they are not going to get impacted from this rule. Very few people will be getting impacted. So what kind of people will actually get impacted out of 86B? The first industry is the people who have to maintain a lot of stock. So like say if I am into a say cement industry, so I always have to maintain a particular level of stock always. Or if I'm related to some industry like the marble or granite or see the interior decoration, because in that case what happens, they have to always have so many expensive items in their showrooms. They have to keep a stock of those items for the decoration purpose. Then they have another set of stock in their warehouses because they have to deliver to the clients. right? So they have a heavy amount of stock, but the sales is not that much. Sales is always like a very less percentage. So if I'm maintaining a stock of say 50 lakh rupees, so my sale will be like 2 lakh, 3 lakh, or 5 lakh rupees. That is capital intensive industries basically, right? So so in those kind of industries, it will definitely get impacted. It will be a burden for them to make payment of tax through cash ledger, but it's only 1%, right? So what I will say that yes, CBIC could have been like more visionary in their thought process. They could have just traced those industries where the stock is required to be at very high level, and they could have a specific exemption for those particular industry, and that can still happen if those industry will make a cartel or make an association, and they will represent to the finance ministry. That is still possible. They can just go to the GST council and they can ask that, okay, our particular industry, let's say some heavy material or the hardware industry, like we have to maintain a lot of stock, so definitely there can be some relief for those people. Okay, apart from them, there are some other exemptions also. So the other exemption is for, now it is related to income tax. So if the person means, if there is a company, then that company, if it is a proprietorship, then the proprietor, if it is a HUF, then HUF, if it is a LLP, then LLP, if it is a company, then company, that particular person, that is tax assessee, if they have made the payment of tax of more than 1 lakh rupee in each of 2 financial years, right, then they are exempted from 86B, first thing. And or if they are partners, so the exemption is available for both of them, that for that particular person also, and for their partners, and for their directors, or the cut of HUF. So the exemption is available for both of them. So for example, if there is a company, if the company has made payment of more than 1 lakh rupees of income tax, and I think if the turnover of a company is say 5 crores, 6 crores, 7 crores, so 1 lakh rupees is very normal to pay as a tax, right? So if they have made the payment of tax of 1 lakh rupees for each of 2 financial years, they are out from 86B. And if their directors, so let us say they are having 2 directors. So if their directors have made the payment of more than 1 lakh rupees in 2 of the each financial year, still they are out from 86B. So this is another exemption, right? Apart from that, the PSUs are out of 86B. So that's a different matter. Like most of our listeners, like none of them will be belonging to the PSU. So this is about Rule 86B. So I will say there is a lot of hue and cry, and some people are saying that, okay, it is ultra virus effect. I would like to say that it's not ultra virus effect. It's not actually, right? And even if it is ultra virus effect, we can see the situation of litigation in our country. I mean, for a small taxpayer, for a normal person who is making the compliances, I will always say that don't run behind the court cases. Even if there is a relief, you are not going to get any benefit out of that relief. That is very normal, because we have seen in the past that even if there is a court case against the department, they will just go and change the provisions retrospectively. So it's very hard to say that something is ultra virus and proving it. You can see the recent litigation related to income tax return date extension. So Gujarat High Court was earlier, they were of opinion that yes, there is a hardship to the taxpayers, and they said that if they have extended the date of passing the assessment order for the officers, then why they cannot extend the date to the taxpayers? But only after 1 or 2 days, their entire instance was changed, and they said that, okay, we don't want to interfere, because CBIC told them, finance ministry told them, that's none of your business. So just mind your business, and they accepted that, okay, we are not going to interfere in this thing. So I will say, just don't run behind the litigation. Don't think that something will come and it will change. I think now it is a rule, it's the law of land, and we should just try to comply with it. Yeah.
I see a lot of few questions coming in. We'll pick it up once we are done with answering a few other questions which I have for you. The next question what I have for you is, now here there will be a procedure where the taxpayers can opt in for the QRMP scheme and maybe want to opt out. So is there any specific procedure for it, or is it an automated thing? How does that work?
First of all, you can opt out and you can opt in, but it's not voluntary in every case. Like, you can opt out anytime you want, but you will be able to opt in only if you are otherwise eligible for the scheme. So if you are not eligible for the scheme, you cannot opt in for the scheme, first thing. Second thing is, you can do it on the GSTN portal. You can just go to the GSTN portal and there is an option available for you. Now the other thing is, if I want to opt out of the scheme, because everyone has the right to opt out of the scheme, then you will have to take care of one thing, that you cannot do it in between of a quarter. You will be able to do it from the second month of a particular quarter. Because why second month? Because by that time, the first date of second month, because by that time you have not already filed any return related to that particular quarter. So if say it's like Jan to March, so I can decide it up to 31st Jan or up to 1st Feb that I want to opt out of the scheme. Because see, after 1st Feb or 2nd Feb or 3rd Feb, and you already filed a return under the QRMP scheme, then you will not be able to opt out. So opt out up to that limit. So that is about the opting out, and the option is already available on the GSTN portal. So opting out and opting in, it's quite easy. For opting in, you will have to take care that if you're, so there was an initial migration. So if you're initially migrated to the monthly and now you want to come to quarterly, you will have to check that whether you already fulfill the eligibility criteria for the scheme. Otherwise, I think the opt in and opt out both are easy. You can do it.
Now, say for example, now I opt out in this quarter. That's a quarter 3, I opt out. Okay. Now then in quarter 4, I opt in. Again in first quarter of 2021, I opt. I mean, I do it alternate. Is that allowed?
Yes, you can opt it.
Opt in, opt out.
You can opt in and you can opt in. Yes.
Okay.
See, because we need to understand one thing, that ultimately, I mean, because there can be a restriction if they think that people are, playing it or they're just trying to misuse it. But you will not be able to misuse it a lot. Why? Because even in quarterly scheme, you will have to pay 35% of your tax liability, which you have paid through cash ledger. You will ultimately have to deposit it. So for the next month also, you will be depositing 35%. So for the first 2 months of a quarter, you should have already deposited 70% of your total tax liability, right? So it's only 30% which is left, that you will pay at the time of filing of return. So at the time of filing of return, it may be lesser amount or it may be higher amount, right? So in that case, I mean, there is less chances of manipulation in this particular case, because on the monthly basis, you are already paying the tax. It's not like you are not making any payment.
Got it. Okay. So then the next question which comes here is, now what will happen if we don't file the return?
What will happen if you don't file the return? Well, okay, so I just want to ask the counter question, why you don't want to file a return? That is the most important question.
You tell me through your imaginations that what could be the multiple reasons for not filing a return. So you're forgotten, or you missed the due date, or intentions are not right. So basic question is, if you do not file the return, what is the consequence?
So there can be so many consequences. Earlier, the consequences were very limited. So earlier there was a late fees, there was a notice. Earlier they had the SOPs for non-filers of return. So there was a dates prescribed that, okay, if you won't file it by 20, they will send you a letter on 21. They will send you an SMS. They will just remind you to file your return. And I think in this respect, I will say the GST department and even income tax department, they are doing a good job. They just send the SMS. But one thing is that, I mean, that even that can be more sensible, that because they send the bulk SMSs and they don't even take care whether you already filed it or not. So they can check it from their database that this person has already filed the return, so we are not supposed to send the SMS to him. That could have saved the resources, but still they just send the SMS. Okay. Now, after the recent changes in GST, I will say there are a lot of consequences for not filing of return. The first thing is, I will say that, as a summary of all of the changes, I will say one thing, that if you want to continue your business, you will have to file the return. You cannot continue your business if you're not filing the return. Why? Because if you're not filing GSTR1, your buyers will not be able to take any input tax credit. And if they are not being able to, take the input tax credit, what will happen? See, they will not like to work with you. And very soon, the big corporates, so if you are a vendor to a corporate, what they will do, because generally big corporates, they just, make everything very procedural. Very soon they will see these kind of provisions. So what will happen, if you're making a sale to them, what they will do, they will just hold the payment of tax, right? Because it will be a general practice very soon. They will have an agreement, or they will just hold the payment of tax, and they will pay it only and only once you file your GSTR1. Okay, so what you can do, you can file the GSTR1 and then you can skip GSTR3B, but you won't be able to do that too. Because if you are not filing GSTR3B, there are two things. First thing is they will suspend your registration because now the assessing officer has the power to suspend your registration itself. So suspension is not equal to cancellation, that I would like to mention here, because some people may use it interchangeably, that cancellation and suspension are the same thing, but they are not. So suspension is the procedure started for the cancellation. So it may be cancelled, it may not be cancelled. If you are responding properly to the notice of the officer and you're doing what they are asking you to do, then it can be withheld, or it can be restored. Or if you are not compiling with the provision, then what they will do, they will cancel your registration. Now what will happen if my registration is suspended? What they will ask, you should have heard that recently there are some two new tax payment options on GSTR portal. The first option is difference between GSTR1 and GSTR3B. So what he will do, he just want you to stop from spreading the input tax credit by filing GSTR1. So they will suspend your registration and they will ask you to make the payment of tax difference between the GSTR1 and GSTR3B. Now, if you will make the payment of tax, what will happen? Your buyer will be able to claim his credit, right? Although he could have already claimed it through GSTR3B or whatever, but now his credit will be ensured. Why? Because you already made the payment of that tax, right? So what they're trying, because earlier the recipient were used to go to the court and they were used to say, sir, that okay, I made the purchase from this person, but I made the payment of tax to this particular person. So why you are not collecting the tax from this person and why you are restricting my input tax credit? So this is the answer of CBIC to those people, that okay, now we will force this person to make the payment of tax which he has already disclosed or shown, or which he has already entered in. So he will have to make the payment of that particular amount of tax. So this is the, I think, thought process of CBIC behind that. Although I know this provision will be misused at the ground level and there will be a lot of cancellation or suspensions, but
Because there
still,
was
I think
the blocking of the filing facility and everything, which was in news because of the failure
right.
of filing the returns.
So
Okay.
that's why I said that if you're not filing the returns, you will not be able to sustain in a business. So if you are just a fly-by-night operator, for them it may be something. But if somebody is actually willing to continue the business, even for the fraudsters, it will be hard. So it's not like that a fraudster is filing their returns for the months or say for the years, and after that CBIC traced out that okay, they are a fraudster, they just spread the credit to so many people and then they run away. So at least those kind of transaction will stop. I believe that some honest people will also have to suffer because of that. So you just need to take care of one thing, that you have to file your return on time, and your GSTR1 and GSTR3B should be matching to each other. These two fundamental rules of GST will have to take care if you actually want to sustain in your business. I will say these two basic rules. First thing is file it by the due date, because see, even for the GSTR1, if you're filing GSTR1, but if you're not filing it by the due date, what will happen? You still filed it, you still took the responsibility to make the payment of tax, but still your buyer is not being able to claim the input tax credit. What they will do, they won't do the business with you ever again. So I mean,
The business relations are strained.
basically we will have to take care. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So now here, when you were telling about the registration, I just remembered about one more news about the Aadhaar authentication process. So what is your view about it? Like, who is supposed to do this Aadhaar authentication and why?
See, everybody possessing the Aadhaar card, they are supposed to do the Aadhaar authentication. So in case of company or partnership firm, their authorized representative, it is required for those people. So one thing I also clarified in one of the recent videos, that there is a rule, sub-rule 4A, which is inserted in the registration provision, right? And in that rule, it is written that you will have to use the biometric devices, and if you are not doing the biometric Aadhaar authentication, you will have to go to the GST Facilitation Center. There you will have to do the KYC with your document, the biometric KYC. I don't know what that is. So I will like to say that first of all, we need to read the first opening line of that particular rule, sub-rule 4A, which is inserted under the registration rules, rule 8, I think. That particular provision is yet to be notified. It will be applicable from the notified date. It is not yet notified. But it's a good thing that GST portal has already started to make the Aadhaar authentication of all of the taxpayers. And I will say, but I mean, whether it is written in law or it is not written in law, they're just asking you to make an Aadhaar authentication. It's not such a big deal. So if you can do it, it's good to do. I will always suggest that. See, if we are a sincere, taxpayer, if we are a sincere or
Not be
honest,
worried about giving all the
we
details
will
out.
always try to take care of compliances. What they're asking, they're just asking you to make an OTP. Just give an OTP. Just authenticate your Aadhaar. That is very basic thing. If there
Got
is
it.
some genuine problem in that, now
Hmm.
then we will discuss whether it is mandatory or not. So even on the GST portal, you will see that they just ask you to remind me later. So it's not mandatory for the existing taxpayers. For the person who is taking new registration, fresh registration, for them it is mandatory. But if you can't do it, still you can take the registration through other KYC, through the other documents. You can still take the registration. So, but yes, we can understand one thing, that government is planning to make it mandatory in the future. So as of now, it's not mandatory, but for the future it may be mandatory. But there is one more thing I would like to add, that government is trying to, link that PAN and Aadhaar from so many years. And every year I have seen that around 31st March, they have to extend the date of that particular thing. Because in India, there are so many problems. Like not everybody is having the Aadhaar. There are so many people in India, they don't have any address. They don't have any identity. And for them, it's very hard to even, have an Aadhaar. And recently, I was just connecting two things. I mean, whether a person who is not having a house, who is not having any financial background, whether they can do a business or not, they can definitely do it, because the registration limit in GST is just 20 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees in some specified states, right? So recently, what happened? Like one of the person, he should have applied for the registration, and his registration was cancelled. So I just saw the piece of that reply which came from the department. They said that your registration is cancelled because you don't provide the financial background or the financial documents to prove that you have the capability to run a business. So I was very surprised that whether it is written somewhere in the GST law that you will also have to provide your financial statement. So I would like to mention this thing, that there are so many people in our country who don't have any financial background, who don't file any income tax return, who don't make any profit and loss account, they don't have even bank account, but still they are doing the business, because business is something very basic. There are so many people, right? So they may not be having the Aadhaar, they don't have any residential address. So I mean, they will have to take care of those kind of cases. So even if they make it mandatory, it will be very, very difficult to implement it. So the thing is, if you can't do it, you genuinely can't do it, no, it is not mandatory. But if you can do it, I will just request to do it.
Okay, got it. Okay, so I think we have like crossed our time for today, but I feel like there is so much more remaining what we could discuss on. But let's do one thing. Let's pick up questions if the audience have. Yeah, y'all can type it in the chat box, which is on your right hand side. Right now, we have one question already from Mr. Indrajit. He says ITC claim as per 2A or 2B, both ITC amount are different. Sister, what do we do?
See, ITC as per 2A and 2B will always be different. We need to understand one thing, and I'm making a detailed study on this thing. But in 2A, in GST or 2B, they also have one column where they mention whether this ITC is eligible ITC or not. And for that ineligibility, there are different reasons, and some of the reasons are not even the legal reasons, because in some of the cases the reason is that place of supply is not the the state of the recipient. Okay, that may be a valid reason, but in one of the case the reason was that your supplier filed his GST-1 after October. So in GST there is no such provision which says that if my supplier is filing his GST-1 after October of the next year, then I will not be eligible to claim the input tax credit, because why you allowed him to file it? You allowed him to file his GST-1, and now it is reflecting in my GST-2. So what's the point of saying that input tax credit is not eligible? So I will say in that particular case, it can be litigating. It is a genuine, I will say, error, the difference of thought process between the GST portal and CBIC and the law itself. But I will say that his GST-2A and 2B will always be different from each other, because GST-2A, so if say for a particular month, say for the month of December, if I am uploading some invoices related to the earlier months, so in GST-2A, it will be updated in those particular months. But in GST-2B, I will see the invoices which are uploaded in this particular month by the different suppliers, mentioning my GST number. So those invoices may be of earlier months or those invoices may be of this same month. So the amount of 2A and 2B will never match to each other. So now it's very difficult, like at the time of filing my GST or 3B, what I'm supposed to take. If you have already taken all of the ITC, which is available in 2A, what you can do, you can just take up the amount of GST or 2B, because if say my 100 rupees ITC was there till November, and till the November I have taken my 100 rupees ITC. Now any fresh invoice uploaded in my name will be reflected in GST or 2B. So for this particular month, my eligibility will be like what is reflecting in GST or 2B. Right? If there were some invoices which I left earlier because they were not reflecting in GST or 2A. Right. So, and now I'm matching my GST or 2A and I saw that only some of the invoices are now reflecting. Then I can take up those particular invoices if they are not already covered by the GST or 2B.
Okay. I think there's a compliment for you. Okay. Next we have something from Mr. Ajay. Input balance है, output tax कम है, तो tax जमा देना होगा.
हाँ जी अजय जी, आपको बिल्कुल देना पड़ेगा. इनपुट का बैलेंस है, आउटपुट टैक्स कम है, तो आपको टैक्स जमा करने का, अगर आप 86B से कवर हो गए तो 86B की कंडीशंस मैंने आपको पहले बताई है. अगर आप 50 लाख से ज्यादा की टैक्सेबल टर्नओवर एंटर कर रहे हैं तब आपको करना होगा. और अच्छा, इसमें एक चीज और भी है 86B में, छोटी सी जो मिस हो गई थी, बहुत छोटी सी चीज थी, वो ये भी थी कि अगर आप एक पर्टिकुलर मंथ में, मान लीजिए साल का नवंबर मंथ है, आप नवंबर मंथ में आके 50 लाख से ज्यादा का टर्नओवर कर रहे हो, लेकिन अभी तक के महीनों में आप ऑलरेडी कैश लेजर्स पेमेंट करते आ रहे हो और क्यूमुलेटिव आपका 1% से ज्यादा अभी तक का पेमेंट है, तो भी आप उसको आईटीसी से पे कर सकते हो. अगर आपका नवंबर को इंक्लूड करके क्यूमुलेटिव 1% से ज्यादा होता है, तो अगर 1% से कम है आपका, मतलब आपका मान लीजिए 100 रुपए की टैक्स लाइबिलिटी थी और आपको 120 रुपए का क्रेडिट पड़ा हुआ था, राइट, तो वो कहते हैं कि नहीं 100 रुपए में से आप 1 रुपया तो कम से कम कैश लेजर से पे करो ही. लेकिन कब? जब आपकी 50 लाख से ज्यादा की टर्नओवर. तो मैंने 100-120 का एग्जांपल लिया, इसका मतलब आपको एज इट इज ट्रांसलेट मत करना. 50 लाख से ज्यादा की अगर टर्नओवर होगी सिर्फ उसी केस में.
If you have not filed a return and the supplier had filed the return after us, that time, that too before the due date, it will be reflected in that month's 2A and 2B. Can we take credit in the next month?
Yes, you can take the credit in the next month. It will be eligible.
Okay, great. So I think we'll wait for another minute if anyone has more questions.
Sure.
Anyone? If any of you have more questions, you all can write it in the chat box. In the meantime, Shefali, if you can give your closing remarks. Okay, someone, Mr. Indrajit is asking a summary for Rule 36(4), subsection 4.
Indrajit, Rule 36(4) is changed from 10% to 5%. अभी सिर्फ वही उसका चेंज है. तो यहाँ पे आपको जो ऑटो रिफ्लेक्ट हो रही थी इनवॉइसेस, आप उसको 5% ऐड करके सिर्फ उतना इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट आप सेल्फ क्लेम कर सकते हो, राइट? सिर्फ 5% ऐड करके. पहले 20 से स्टार्ट किया था, देन इट वाज रिड्यूस्ड टू 10%, नाउ इट इज 5% ओनली. आप कर सकते हो, लेकिन ध्यान रखना कि उसमें भी अगर आपका कोई क्रेडिट ऑलरेडी एलिजिबल नहीं है तो आपको लेस करना है. तो मान लीजिए आपकी 2E के अंदर एक मोटर व्हीकल का क्रेडिट भी आ रहा है, जो 17(5) में ऑलरेडी ब्लॉक क्रेडिट है, राइट, और आपके 2E के अंदर मान लीजिए कुछ ऐसे भी क्रेडिट्स आ रहे हैं जिनके लिए आप एलिजिबल नहीं है फॉर एनी रीजन, ठीक है. तो आपको क्या करना है, मान लीजिए 100 रुपए का क्रेडिट ऑटो रिफ्लेक्ट हो रहा है, उसमें से 10 रुपए का मोटर व्हीकल का है, 5 रुपए का अदरवाइज इनएलिजिबल है, तो 15 रुपए लेस करके 85 रुपीज पे 5% ऐड करके जो अमाउंट आएगी उतना आप सेल्फ क्लेम कर सकते हो इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट.
I think he has another question.
GST or 3B system generated. Please explain if claim more than red highlight. देखो इंद्रजीत जी, उन्होंने एक चेक लगाया है, ऐसे चेक एनुअल रिटर्न पे भी लगा हुआ था, तो उन्होंने एक चेक लगाया है. मैं आपको हमेशा ये चीज बोलती हूँ कि हमें जो अपनी एलिजिबिलिटी देखनी है वो अपने लॉ के हिसाब से देखनी है कि जीएसटी लॉ के हिसाब से मेरी एलिजिबिलिटी आती है कि नहीं आती है. तो कुछ ऐसे इंस्टेंसेस बिल्कुल हो सकते हैं कि जब जो जीएसटी और 3B के अंदर ऑटो रिफ्लेक्ट होकर आ रहा है वो अलग होगा, लेकिन मेरी एलिजिबिलिटी अदरवाइज बैठती है. तुम्हारे जीएसटी और 3B के अंदर मेरा 2B ऑटो रिफ्लेक्ट होकर आ रहा है, बट अदरवाइज मेरे जो कुछ पुराना इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट था वो पेंडिंग था, जो मैंने किसी रीजन से नहीं लिया था. क्या रीजन हो सकते हैं वो मैं आपको एक्सप्लेन कर रही हूँ. मान लीजिए मेरा एक इनवॉइस था, वो इनवॉइस जो था 31 ऑफ मार्च का था. 31 ऑफ मार्च पे उन्होंने अपलोड भी कर दिया, तो मेरे पास तो ऑटो रिफ्लेक्ट होके आ गया, मेरे जीएसटी और 2A के अंदर आ गया. बट द थिंग इज दिस कि वो जो गुड्स थी वो मुझे रिसीव नहीं हुई थी, दे वर गुड्स इन ट्रांजिट. तो मैं उसका इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट तो नहीं लूंगी जब तक वो मुझे रिसीव नहीं होगा। अच्छा, अब नेक्स्ट मंथ में क्या आया, नेक्स्ट मंथ का जो 2B है वो तो उसको कंसीडर नहीं करेगा, तो पिछले महीने की बात हो चुकी है ना। तो 2B के अंदर जो मेरा अमाउंट है, मान लीजिए 100 रुपीज आया, बट 70 रुपीज का तो मेरा वही क्रेडिट बचा हुआ है। तो जब मैं अब अपनी GST 3B फाइल करूंगी तो मैं डेफिनेटली क्लेम करूंगी उसको, तो वो यानी कि डिफरेंसेस आ सकते हैं उसमें।
I hope Mr. Indrajit ka question answer ho gaya. I hope he has got the answer. I think Ms. Helen has a question. If we are a monthly return filer and are unable to pay taxes in that month and unable to file 3B, what will be the due date for paying taxes beyond the due date? That is 20th of every month.
See, you can make the payment of tax up to the due date of GST or 3B. लेकिन फिर भी अगर आपके पास टैक्स पे करने के लिए बाई चांस पैसे नहीं, तो वैसे आप टैक्स के लिए आप इंस्टॉलमेंट में पे करने के लिए अप्लाई कर सकते हैं, बट दैट प्रोविजन इज नॉट येट एप्लीकेबल। प्रैक्टिकली वो हो नहीं पाता है, ऑल्दो GST में इस चीज का भी प्रोविजन है। अच्छा, अब इफ यू थिंक हेलन कि आपके पास एक्चुअली में पेमेंट करने के लिए पैसे नहीं है GST या 3B में, तो या तो आप GST
Sorry for stopping you. She's requesting in English. Hello, Shefali?
हाँ, okay, understand now. So Helen, like for the payment of GST or 3B, the last date of GST or 3B is basically the due date for the payment of tax also. But if there is a genuine problem and you don't have the amount to pay as a tax, so you can just maybe you can try some credit from the banks, because some of the banks are providing credit for the tax payment of GST. There's a new kind of credit available for the people now. So you will have to make it, have to pay it by the due date of filing GST or 3B. Although there is also a provision of making the payment in installment of tax with interest, so you can apply for that. Although that should be online, but it's not available online, so it will be difficult because you will have to go to the department and then ask, you know, their permission to make the payment in the installments. And portal will not allow you to file your return without making the payment of tax. So that is an anomaly, because GST Act didn't say that okay, you will have to make the entire payment by the due date of filing of GST or 3B, but the portal will not allow you to file the return.
Okay, I hope Ms. Helen, your question is answered. We'll take up one last question of Mr. Ajay, and then we will wind up for the day.
Sure.
Yeah, so yeah. इसका मतलब है कि कोई भी
आई नेवर सेड कि कोई भी रिटर्न जमा नहीं करना है। आपका जो क्वेश्चन था अजय, वो ये था कि आपको ITC बैलेंस है तो टैक्स कैश से पे करना है कि नहीं करना है। आई थिंक दैट वाज द क्वेश्चन। वन सेकंड। इनपुट बैलेंस है, आउटपुट टैक्स कम है, तो टैक्स जमा करना होगा कि नहीं करना। आपने मुझसे पूछा था कि टैक्स देना पड़ेगा कि नहीं देना होगा, तो मैंने कहा था कि अगर आपका ITC लेजर में बैलेंस है और आप अदरवाइज 86B से हिट नहीं हो रहे हैं, तो फिर आपको कैश लेजर से पे करने की जरूरत नहीं है। आप ITC से पे करके अपनी रिटर्न फाइल कर सकते हैं, बट आपने नीचे बोलो रिटर्न फाइल कर, रिटर्न हमेशा फाइल करना है। ये तो मैं सबको बोल रही हूँ कि और कुछ करना है नहीं करना, लेकिन रिटर्न प्लीज टाइम पे जरूर फाइल करना।
ओके, ग्रेट। ठीक है, तो मैम I think there's one more question. Let's take it up. Ma'am, I was online, but I'm filing return 3B, so could not. Okay, please upload on YouTube. Yes, this video, I mean, from our end, we will be uploading this on our YouTube channel. You will get an email of the recorded version of this video within an hour since you have registered for this session. Indrajit, we have already uploaded a video on GSTR 9 for the previous financial year. For 1920, we will take up one soon. And yes, so Shefali, if you can just give us a short summary or takeaway points, quick pointers, what we should remember, and then we can close for the day.
Okay, so I would like to say that if you're going for the QRMP scheme, just take care that you're required to make the payment of taxes monthly, because sometimes what happens, there is a communication gap. When we are talking to our clients or when they are reading some WhatsApp messages, short messages, they will just read the headline. They will just read that, okay, now the GST return is quarterly. So we always need to understand that GST return quarterly doesn't mean that we will have to make the compliance quarterly. We are still required to make the payment of tax on the monthly basis. So that may be a matter of choice. You can go with the monthly scheme still. You can go with the monthly scheme. Like for most of our clients, we decided that we will be continuing in the monthly scheme only. And if you're going to quarterly, then just take care to make the compliances, that's depositing the challan and all, right? So that is very important. Second thing is, no matter what you're doing and how much busy you are, please file your return on time, file your GSTR1 on time, and file your GSTR 3B on time. First thing, and second thing is they should be matching with each other. So it shouldn't be like you are filing a GSTR of 1 crore rupees and you're filing a GSTR 3B of say nil or 1 lakh or 2 lakh or 3 lakh. There should be a parity between the two. And I will say ideally, if you're filing a return, I mean, this is the policy we are following in our office since the inception of GST. When we file GSTR 3B, we always look into GSTR 1. And if there is a mismatch, we always ask this question to the client, like when you are, you have entered these many invoices in GSTR 1, why are you not making the payment of tax? Right? So they should be reconciled with each other. And for the consultant, if there are some consultants also in this webinar, I would like to suggest you that make a monthly reconciliation of GSTR 1 and 3B. If there is a mismatch, send a specific email to the client that why there is a mismatch in GSTR 1 and 3B and ask them that now I need your permission to file it with the differences, because there may be consequences of this filing, so that later on they won't be able to blame you that, okay, what you did now, department is sending me the notices. So it will be a good practice to follow. So that's it from my side.
Yes. Would you like to take up that one question which Ms. Helen has asked?
Sure.
We are going to close one of our concerns in which we have ITC credit and cash credit. Can we get refund for both?
I'm afraid, Miss Helen, for input tax credit, if you are going to close your concern, you won't be able to get the refund of input tax credit. But yes, the amount, if there is some amount in cash ledger, in the cash ledger, basically, you can claim the refund of that particular cash ledger amount. For GST, input tax credits refund is allowed only and only in 2 cases. The first case is export without the payment of tax, and the second case is inverted rated tax structure. And apart from these 2 particular cases, there is no case in GST when you can claim the input tax credits refund. So you maybe continue, what you can do now, you can just continue to business for some time so that you make some sale to adjust that input tax credit ledger balance, and then go for a shutdown. That you can do.
Okay. I hope your question is answered, Ms. Helen. Okay, so let's wind up for the day. It has been a wonderful session, Shefali. We have had a lot of questions and great interaction. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, that was
I
great.
totally did, because it was a very informative session. So thank you so much, audience, for being there and joining us. Our next session is going to be very interesting because it's going to be on the budget 2021. We will keep you informed. Hopefully, let's connect soon. And yeah, thank you all for your participation. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you. Thank you, Shefali. Take care. Bye.